Okay, here we're going to look at the cosine rule, which is another one of those rules that you can use with any triangle, and it's not limited to right-angled triangles. So first of all, we'll start off with a triangle, labelled appropriately. Cosine rule says that a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. When a is a right angle, you actually find that it's the same as Pythagoras' theorem. So let's consider what happens when we've got an unknown side. Remembering that your questions frequently come as worded questions, you have to draw them to reflect what's said in the words. So in this case here we have a triangle, two sides of 15 centimetres, the angle between them is 104, and we're trying to find the third side. So let's start off. A squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Unfortunately, folks, you're going to have to remember that one. We don't give it to you. So now let's take a look at labelling our diagram. We're labelling the diagram to reflect what we have in the formula. The big A is the angle, so we label that. We therefore get the little a being the unknown, the x, and the b and the c, it doesn't really matter which way round they're written. So the next step, substitute your values into the formula. That's pretty easy. Now we have here that x squared's 8 squared plus 15 squared. Take away 2 lots of 8 times 15 cos 104 degrees. We don't want to find x squared, we want to find x. So to find x, we take the square root of both sides, and we say x is going to be the square root of 8 squared plus 15 squared minus 2 times 8 times 15 cos 104. It's not really worthwhile doing the calculation of that 8 squared, etc., etc., because the more calculations you do and write down and the steps you put in between, the more likely you are to make a mistake. By doing it this way, you are going to put it into the calculator once and get the answer once. The fact that you've substituted into the formula correctly shows that you understand what you're doing. So we now put this into the calculator, and we find that x is 18.63 centimetres to 2 decimal places. That's not overly difficult, is it? Basically 3 steps. X squared equals the square root of, and then calculator. Okay, now we're going to give you a turn. So here's our diagram. What I'd like you to do is pause the video, copy and label the diagram and have a go. When you've finished, restart the video and check your answer again. So, welcome back. Here's the diagram. First, let's write down the formula. So a squared is b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Label the diagram to reflect that and substitute in. So in this case, x squared is equal to 213 squared plus 275 squared minus 2 times 213 times 275 cos 73 degrees. Change the x squared into square root on the opposite side using it's an inverse function. So now we've got the square root. X is the square root of 213 plus 275 squared minus 2 times 213 times 275 cos 73. Now it's just a case of using your calculator. We find that x is 294.5 metres. That's it. Now we're going to see the other reason that we use the cosine rule is when we've got an unknown angle. So here's our diagram. Here's our cosine rule. Now if we're looking for angle, you'll see that on the right hand side the angle's mixed up with a whole lot of sides. So you don't have the angle equals something or cos of the angle equals something. So we're going to correct that by manipulating the equation, rearranging it, changing the subject to something with the a in it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to move the minus 2bc cos a to the left hand side of the equal sign, and it goes from being minus 2bc cos a to being plus 2bc cos a. So on the left hand side we now have 2bc cos a plus a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared. Now that a squared is not needed, So we're going to take it to the other side, and it's going to become minus a squared. So we're going to have 2bc cos a is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared. Now we're after just the cos a by itself, so we're going to divide by 2bc. So cos a is equal to b squared plus c squared minus a squared, all divided by 2bc. Okay, so let's now work through an example. Here's our diagram. We're given three sides of a triangle, and we're asked to find one of the angles. It could have been a worded problem, or in which case we just draw the diagram, or you can think of it off, just copy the diagram. First thing, let's write down our formula. So cos of a is equal to b squared plus c squared minus the a squared all over 2bc. Label the diagram according to the formula. When you're doing things like assessment tasks and so on, your maths teacher or whatever may have labelled the diagram with A, B's and C's that don't suit the way that you like. So what you do is you use a highlighter and you put your letters on to reflect the way you use this formula. Now that we've done that, we substitute in. Now we've got cos theta is equal to 11.75 squared plus 17.5 squared minus 13 squared all over 2 times 11.75 times 17.5. Now that's the cos of the angle. So what we need to do is we need to use the inverse function. And that will move the cos from the left-hand side as a cos to the right-hand side as the inverse cos. Cos says, I've got an angle, tell me the ratio that goes with it. Cos to the minus 1 says, hey, I've got the ratio, I need the angle. Okay? So, put that into the calculator, and you end up with theta is 47 degrees 59 minutes, and I've rounded that to the nearest minute. Whilst it's possible to do calculations we use your calculator in the step above or at any time in this, the more time you got to think of the more times you create numbers and do writing things down on your page and transferring them then across back to the calculator and so on, the more likely you are to make mistakes. The first substitution shows that you actually understand the problem. Therefore, going to the next step where theta is cos to the minus 1 of all that stuff is quite a valid step for you. Now I'd like you to have a go. Here's our diagram. We've got a triangle with three sides, and we want to find an angle. So I'd like you to pause the video, copy and label the diagram, and have a go. When you're finished, restart the video and check your answer against mine. Welcome back. Here's the diagram I gave you. Here's the formula we use. Cos A is b squared plus c squared minus a squared all over 2bc. So, label the diagram according to the way you're using the formula. Substitute into the formula, so b is the 5.7, c is the 6.3, a is the 3.4. You've got cos theta equals all of that. So theta, when you take the cos to the other side, becomes cos to the minus 1 of all of that. Put that in your calculator and you find theta is 32 degrees 26 minutes. Done. That's the code.